Welcome to Season 2 of The Learning Pod, where we aim to reshape the way you learn. I'm your host, Roxanne Rodriguez, and we're kicking off this season with a highly anticipated topic, one that was requested time and time again. We're talking all about artificial intelligence. Joining me today are two of Epicor's leaders, Murr and Arturo Buzzalino. Rich joined Epicor over 8 years ago as our CIO and is also now our Chief Customer Officer. Rich has been a technology leader in the cloud, retail, and service spaces for 25 plus years. Please also welcome Arturo Buzzalino. Arturo is Epicor's Chief Innovation Officer, overseeing global design, R&D labs, and manufacturing. A veteran of multiple hyper-growth AI and robotic startups, he's now shaping the next generation of agentic AI-driven ERP systems. Together, we're going to explore how AI is transforming not just our products, but our people, our processes, and maybe even our purpose here at Epicor. So let's go ahead and start big. Rich and Arturo, what's one way AI is driving innovation at Epicor that most people wouldn't expect? And Arturo, we can go ahead and start with you.
Like always, and by the way, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it and excited to be here and talking to all of you. AI is such a complex thing, and you can take it a million different ways. And for me, really, where I see the biggest impact. So forget about what we're doing within our products and even all the interesting things maybe we can do in like development and things like that. But it's really just using things like ChatGPT in your everyday life, but then also here internally, like Copilot and these different tools that we have, just helping on things like, taking a really long email and just getting like the 3 insights out of it and just, being able to get to that decision faster. Or even in your daily life, right? Like writing something or editing an email to read a little bit better, or running research, right, on a certain topic that you're either interested in or maybe you need to do something for at work, and very quickly getting to that decision. I think that, it's super simple, but I think that is really what really changed, at least also for me personally, my day to day and my teams as well.
Thank you, Arturo. And Rich, what about you?
Hey, Roxanne, thanks for having me as well. Arturo, always good to spend time with you. Roxanne, I think a couple things. One, I think it's just been a catalyst to look at business processes. So put tech aside, there's always a desire to look at business processes, become more efficient. And I think with AI, there's just been a real opportunity to do that in a way that we couldn't have done before, because really anybody can leverage it. You don't have to be a coder. There's always been these ideas of low code or no code sort of technologies that allow folks to leverage tech in some way to look at their business processes, improve them. I'm not sure those always bore fruit, but I think with AI and building agents, I think it's pretty amazing what capabilities it's placed in our employees' hands. And lots of examples of how individuals and individual teams are starting to leverage this and kind of rethink maybe some of the big obstacles that have been in their way for efficiency or whatever it may be, and driving real improvements in those areas. So it's pretty cool to see, and I think we're just getting started with it.
Yeah, and I think you're very right. We're just getting started with that. And with something that seems very new to the workforce, a lot of people are very curious about AI, but sometimes they're not really quite sure where to begin, especially when it comes to using it in their day-to-day work or even in their personal lives. So for employees who are not sure really where to start with AI, whether it's personal or professional, what's one practical action they can take to start exploring it that's kind of beyond writing emails or different things like that? What are some creative ways that they could use it in their work or personal life?
I think a really obvious one that I think the AI providers have sort of enabled without a great deal of work required is just research. So, the internet's always been fantastic for research, but Gen AI's capability to sort of summarize that research, take multiple sources and collapse them into something that is truly, I think, very useful. I find it pretty amazing. Arturo knows the underlying tech way better than I do, but the capabilities for these, call them search engines, to go out there and enable research, in my mind, pretty stunning what they're able to do. Every now and then you'll see hallucination, although anecdotally it seems like there are fewer and fewer of those to me. So they're obviously tuning that, but I think the research is a great capability. And I think on the personal side, if somebody's struggling to get into this from a work perspective, I think if you have a call it a hobby or other interests, like, if you're into visual arts or music, just play around with it. I think it's again, probably not an exaggeration to say it's incredible what AI can do, and you can absolutely build prompt engineering skills using your hobbies as well that eventually will translate potentially into the workplace as well. But whether it's prompting AI to craft an image or give you some ideas for music, pretty amazing what it can do, and also very easy. Like, it doesn't take a great deal of expertise to get started, which I think is there's a low barrier to entry on this.
Yeah, it's really leaning into that curiosity about how they can use it both professionally and personally. Arturo, what about you?
I'd have to, echo obviously what Rich says because it's true. Like the research capabilities are fantastic. I mean, I use it multiple times a day, but also like in a way that you can even use those research capabilities, even like creatively, is even checking your what you could perceive as biases, right? Is it's like, hey, give me like an opposing view on this thing, right? Whether it's, you're doing some research maybe on some medical things or even at work, right? Like maybe it's a view of like a certain way of thinking, right? Like, how could I look at this different? Actually, I use that a lot and it kind of I check myself. So I kind of use that. And it's nice because like over time, like a lot of these systems, like they'll keep memory. So they kind of learn of your past questions and they get better. So it's pretty great, like the things you can do. So it's like research for sure. And then you can also apply it, to your day to day, like, negotiating with somebody or maybe you're having trouble with a certain situation, maybe getting some feedback. It's actually pretty good at giving you some options.
And actually, that reminds me of something that we just launched on the talent and leadership development team, which is the LinkedIn Learning's AI coach. So they can go in and they can, state maybe a situation that they're going to have a career conversation with the manager, and they can kind of have this like one-on-one simulation of a conversation with the AI agent itself. So really great use cases that you all brought to the table. So thanks for those. Paul Morgan, our leader of the AI Pioneer program, recently shared some exciting projections about the potential revenue tied to the AI Pioneer program itself, which really highlights how quickly things are evolving. And so that got me thinking, what's one internal shift, maybe in how we work or how we make decisions, that's being accelerated by AI?
So I think a couple areas. So I'll speak, from like a product strategy perspective. I think is something really interesting. So what we've started doing is we've been using things like deep research in ChatGPT or even Copilot, right? Like integrations into different documentation that we have internally for our products. But like really interesting things like writing user stories from which are requirements for development, right? And usually that takes time because like you have to sit and as either a PM or business analyst, you have to understand the customer, understand, right, and then kind of translate it in a way that an engineer could then action that inside of software. Well, right now it's like you can kind of spend all that time doing your homework of like, hey, let me talk to customers, let me understand the problem, and then kind of explain it actually in some of these platforms, and then the platform itself will actually spit out these user stories which are hours and hours of time savings. So for us, it's like it really speeds up the process of development. And that's just on the requirement side. Then there's things we've been doing with coding, for example. We've been using Copilot and GitHub and other tools, and essentially being able to write unit tests or regression testing, automated testing much faster, right? So, hey, you can give an AI, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Here's my code. Let's generate some unit tests for it. And it actually does it pretty good. I mean, we don't trust it 100%. No, we still review it, but the point is it gives you somewhere to start. And so when you take these an hour savings there, 2 hour savings over there, but then you multiply it through a whole organization, those are huge.
Yeah, it's a lot of time being saved
That's right.
for higher productivity. Thank you. Rich, what about you?
Yeah, I can pile on with a few more, and actually Arturo will be familiar with some of these because he's helping us with them. One is on the support side, summarizing case notes. So if you can imagine, we have thousands of cases created every month, and those case notes, we provide very complicated solutions for our customers. So when they have a problem, it can often be a complicated, resolution. The case notes can run to the hundreds of lines long. If you're a new agent getting on there to get familiar with the case, You might have to read through all those case notes. It's a lot to absorb. And what we've done is work with our Arturo's team and Prism to drive case summarization. It's actually proven really valuable from a time savings perspective. We're actually putting it into production this month in October, but it can take several hundred lines and say, look, here are the 10 things you really need to know about this case. So to Arturo's point, an hour here, an hour there, over, or even 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes over thousands of cases. It's a real time saver for us. We're also using it to help us fine tune our knowledge base articles. So ideally in support, one, we hope they don't have to open a case in the first place. But if they do have an issue, we want to have a KB article that can help them solve the issue. And we're leveraging AI to help us tune and improve those KB articles. So lots of improvement on the support side. I was talking to JT, our chief legal counsel, this morning. He mentioned how they're using it to scan the enormous contract database as well, all this unstructured data to look for key terms or other things that they need to know about and categorize and summarize. So again, I think we're just getting started with this, but we're already seeing, especially with the generative AI, like real opportunities to drive efficiencies.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, the shifts that are occurring in the various functions here at Epicor. As we all know, AI is changing very fast. There's new tools, new features, and new ways of also working. It's exciting, but it can also kind of feel like a lot to keep up with. So I'll go ahead and start with Rich for this question. What's one thing that you're doing to stay on top of AI trends and not fall behind?
A couple things, but individually, just doing some of the things we talked about earlier, getting familiar with the end user tools, leveraging them. I think a key skill set for anybody, regardless of your role, is to be good at prompt engineering. And it really is a skill you have to develop and nurture over time. And we've seen some prompts for some of the capabilities I mentioned a couple minutes ago. Prompts can be incredibly complicated, and you can really train these AI tools to do amazing things. But being an end user myself, I think really helps. And then across the organization, just encouraging the use of it. We've had some contests. We've gamified it a bit. We're trying to make it the usage of it more prominent. Call out where somebody is leveraging it effectively, but just continuing to make it easy for our employees to access it, talk about it so they can see when folks are using it effectively, and just encourage the use as much as possible.
Arturo?
Very similar to what Rich is saying is right. And we started things like the Pioneer program, which I know was great. My teams participated deeply in that. We actually did a few programs. We did one in India as well, like an innovation day. Did it in Mexico as well, I think a month ago. And we're going to keep doing more of these right throughout the year at our various offices. So I think that's one. But then also it's just using it in your day to day. I think and the beauty of it is it's so intuitive and human that it really is like, it's not something you have to like, train or think about, or you just kind of start and it kind of impresses you, right, with the things it can do. Yeah. So that's what I would say is like, I try to use it in my day to day. And then, me personally with my teams, we have a channel where we actually just share AI news. So for us, also we're in a very unique place because like we have to, because of innovation, like we have to know what's happening basically every day so that we can push our technology. But we get feeds from several things like TechCrunch, like we'll do all of that. But then X actually is a great place where there's a ton of AI news actually. So like I follow a lot of that and I read up a ton on those things, like what's happening with NVIDIA and like NVIDIA and OpenAI and AMD, which happened earlier this week. So all of that stuff is important because it moves and it impacts what we do. I will say that the speed of innovation is fastest I've ever seen in my career.
Yeah, and I know you had mentioned that, you and your team, you have to stay on top of these AI trends and everything like that. But I want to also address the flip side of innovation. While AI may open doors to new opportunities, it can also introduce some new complexities. So, Arturo, what are the biggest risks or challenges that Epicor has faced with AI implementation?
That is a very powerful question, a deep question, and there's probably a number of areas that I could talk to, but I think probably the first and foremost is the security aspect of it. Whether we're using AI within our walls, right, for doing things, right, like code and things like that, right? IP risk and these different things are introduced. So, I know Rich and Rich's organization has rolled out, best practices on like what tools to use, how to use them, and the different trainings. So that's really important. But then on the flip side, on our products that are customer facing, same thing, right? So we can't, especially when we're running Prism, right? And Prism might be, I don't know, running a query inside of an ERP. We don't want that data, because it's the customer's data, right, going somewhere that it shouldn't. And so we've taken a lot of time, and even working closely with Rich's team is making sure the security's there, the infrastructure is built right. Same with our cloud, right? So very similar to that, but now applied to AI, because it does have to run in the cloud, but it doesn't mean the way that we've designed it. It doesn't mean that we need to send actual proprietary data to go and process within the model. It doesn't need that. It just needs to know how to navigate the ERP. So those are some of the things that we've implemented, but security is definitely number one.
Yeah, and I think it's all about being aware of those potential risks or challenges, and then, being one step ahead of that. So it's really great to hear that your team's on top of that. Rich, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, hey, I think Arturo and I agree. Security number one, absolutely. So a lot of thought being put into that. I'd also add compliance, which is kind of the same other side of the same coin, right? Just making sure we're compliant from a, call it a data perspective, which is nothing new to us. It's just it's something we've always had to be aware of and on top of. AI just is another dimension that we need to account for. And I'll also add cost to it as well. Much like cloud, it's very easy to leverage AI, and there are scenarios where you end up spending a lot of money without really knowing you're doing it. So making sure that we're thoughtful about what we deploy, how we manage the cost is something that's top of mind for us as well.
Nice. It's great to hear, with innovation comes responsibility. So it's great to hear how we're navigating that here at Epicor. I want to get into a little bit of a different side of this, which is around any possible bias that AI could have. So there's, again, a growing concern that AI could reinforce bias, especially in learning or perhaps performance management. How do we guard against that?
Yeah, like I think this is a relatively, like AI itself, a relatively new topic, and I think it's real. And I think we've, at a minimum, we're aware of it right now, which is where it really starts. I know, Roxanne, I'm sure you know your team has definitely given this a lot of thought. There are some, speaking of compliance, rules and regulations that are sort of governing how you potentially leverage AI when you're doing, recruiting and talent management. So I think being aware of it and making sure you've got the right tooling and processes in place to account for that is key. I think this is a topic that will continue to evolve, and it's something we all need to sort of stay on top of.
Nice. Arturo?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm going to echo that. Same thing, tools, processes. Like I said, it kind of related to that thing that I brought up at the beginning, which is like checking your biases too. Same thing when the model gives you something. It's like, okay, well, what if it's this way? Or, hey, can you give me another? Or what's the other side of the argument? Or whatever it is, the topic that you're looking into. But then also the other thing is, and I think we'll see this more and more, is having competing models, right? Maybe arriving to the same thing. So like, for example, within Prism, what we do is we're agnostic to models. So we might use several models for the same problem to check, right? So this is where you can use like an agent and then use another agent to check that agent's work, things like that. So you can start doing different heuristics, different processes to counter some of these things. And same with hallucinations. Actually, it's similar, right? So you check bias, error in the models.
Wonderful. I'm going to ask an actually very silly question right now. So, we were actually talking about this, my team with Paul, and we were out to lunch with Juliet, and we were talking about Waymo, the agentic self driving car. Have y'all ridden in it before?
Not yet.
Not yet.
They're
Okay.
here in Austin, but I haven't gotten one yet.
I have not yet either. It's a little scary, but
I was going to say, are there any fears or reservations around it?
no, what's funny is my parents were visiting Austin. This was like a month ago, and they sent it to me, and they were in one, and my mom was like, "Oh my gosh!" She was freaking out because this thing was it was just driving. So anyway, she sent it to me. I don't know. I am a technologist. I love technology, but it is a little scary. They do say it's safer though than a human being driving. So
And they said, Juliet was saying that it's actually cheaper too. And she was saying, she was like, I had my phone out videoing it. And so I was just curious about that. I just wanted to know if either of you had ridden in one yet. Well, I want to end the episode with a final question and we can go ahead and start with Rich for this one. If you had to describe Epicor's AI strategy in only one word, what would that word be?
Pragmatic.
Pragmatic. Okay. And Arturo?
there's a few I could use. Probably efficient.
Pragmatic and efficient. Wonderful. Well, as we wrap up the season premiere of the Learning Pod, I want to leave you, our listeners, with the challenge. This month, find one new way to bring AI into your daily life, personally or professionally. Maybe that's trying out Spotify's AI DJ, or maybe it's asking ChatGPT for a new recipe. Or if you're anything like me and you find yourself stuck on figuring out how to change a tire, use Copilot as your roadside assistance. I also asked some of our listeners on our Viva Engage page called the Learning Pod Lounge how they are using AI in their everyday lives. And I absolutely loved the responses I was reading. So I wanted to have a few shout outs here. Adam Samuels, he is in our UK Bracknell office, and he's using AI to create bedtime stories for his 10-year-old, mashing up Super Mario and Harry Potter for some seriously epic storytelling. We also have Heather McMillan, a part of our consulting services team that lets AI help plan weekend adventures for her and her family, finding fun ways to get outside and explore nature. And lastly, Jennifer Scott, who listens from our Canada office, recently used AI to compare cars before buying her new ride. Talk about smart shopping. Definitely need to do that the next time I buy a car. However you decide to use AI, just have fun with it. And like we talked about today, be curious, experiment a little, and who knows, you might actually find and discover your new favorite tool to use at work. Thank you again, Rich and Arturo, for joining me on the season premiere of The Learning Pod.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roxanne. Good chat with you. Arturo, good seeing you.
Yeah, good seeing you. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. And to everyone who tuned in, thank you for listening and always keep learning. I'll see you on the next episode.